They say the cleaning staff at Groom Lake are ghosts, present, unseen, moving through classified corridors no one else notices. That's how it's been for me. My name's Danny Orozco, and for 3 years, I've pushed a mop through the veins of the most secret installation in Nevada, what the tourists call Area 51. To those who live near it, it's just the base, a scar of concrete and desert that stretches for miles beneath the salt flats. Most of it exists underground, far from satellite eyes or maps. I grew up an hour north in Rachel, population 50-something, a town built on silence. My uncle Hector worked base security until his heart quit, and he's the one who got me the job. 60,000 a year to mop, keep quiet, and never ask questions sounded good when my daughter Camila started college and her mother stopped sending help. The screening process dragged for 8 months. Interviews, background checks, FBI calls to my ex, my priest, even my high school guidance counselor. They wanted to know everything about me, down to what prayers I said. When clearance finally came, they handed me a badge. No name, only a barcode, and a printed sheet of rules. No phones, no cameras, no conversations about anything I saw. The punishment for breaking silence was enough to bankrupt the family for generations. My first day, my supervisor, a woman named Gladys Hang, went over the cleaning zones, sectors A through F. She paused before adding, "Never enter Sector G unless assigned. Sector H," she said, "doesn't exist." She gave me a ring of keys and the kind of look that made rules feel like survival advice. The work was dull, sweeping corridors, collecting coffee cups left by scientists, too buried in equations to notice me. But the real intrigue came from the things I overheard when they forgot I existed. Talk of materials that bent light wrong, frequencies older than civilization, and rooms where clocks refused to tick evenly. You learn to pretend deafness fast in that place. For 3 years I did, until 6 nights ago, when Gladys told me I'd be covering for someone sick in Section G7. Her hand shook as she passed me a brass key, the only one on my wing not made of steel, and a code scribbled on a yellow note. She didn't meet my eyes when she said, "Be done before 0600. The freight elevator to G7 rumbled down for what felt like forever, lights flickering as it sank 3 floors beneath the lowest level I'd ever seen. When the doors opened, the hallway stretched into sterile infinity, humming with fluorescent lights tuned to a frequency that felt like it crawled into your skull. I went through the motions: op, disinfect, empty bins. Then I saw the last door on the left, propped open by a wedge of wood. The sign read "Archive Storage, Authorized Personnel Only." Curiosity got the better of me. I pushed inside. Rows upon rows of file cabinets filled the room from floor to ceiling, each folder stamped in red, "Cognition hazard, viewing prohibited." I should have left, but after years of being invisible, I wanted to see what they hid from people like me. I took one file down. The cover was the color of old bone, the paper stiff and dry. Across the front, stamps bled over each other. "Do not photocopy, do not transcribe, do not discuss." My pulse kicked hard in my neck. I set it on the metal desk in the corner and told myself 1 page only. The first sheet dated back to August 1947. The location marked White Sands Proving Ground, crossed out in pencil, replaced with Tekaboo Valley, Nevada. My stomach tightened. Tekaboo sat maybe 20 miles from Rachel. Nothing there but dust and forgotten mine shafts. The report, written in a soldier's slanted hand, belonged to Major Clifton Yates of the U.S. Army Air Forces. He described the discovery of an anomalous structure buried 47 feet beneath the surface. Something cylindrical, metallic, 12,000 years older than the surrounding rock. A photo was clipped to the next page. Floodlights around a pit in the desert, soldiers standing on its rim, shadows spilling into darkness. At the center sat a smooth cylinder about 15 feet long, 6 wide, surface black as obsidian, and wrong somehow, like it absorbed light instead of reflecting it. Tests showed the object never changed temperature, whether scorched by sunlight or encased in dry ice. Every attempt to drill, cut, or burn it failed. Tools shattered before touching it. Then came the section labeled Signal Activity. A note read, "Frequency 1.42 G, height Z, hydrogen line. Pattern non-random. Possible communication." I froze. That frequency was used for deep space transmissions. The last paragraph named the facility receiving custody of the object, codenamed Dreamland. My breath caught. Dreamland was one of the old nicknames for this base. Whatever they found in 1947 had been brought here, 3 floors under my feet. The next entries chronicled an opening attempt. Hydraulic pressure applied to what looked like a seam. At 12,000 psi, the crack widened. Personnel experienced headaches, Auditory hallucinations. One physicist described the sense of being watched from inside. They pushed pressure higher. The capsule opened by inches, revealed darkness deeper than physical space, then resealed itself in seconds. It seemed gone. A margin note scrawled later said, Captain Delvatio, suicide October 31st, 1947. Counted backwards in sleep. My mouth went dry. Above me, the lights hummed, pulsing in patterns that almost sounded like numbers. I turned another page. Final report, 1952. Research terminated. Capsule entombed in concrete, reburied in Tekaboo Valley. Signal still active. Transmission continues beyond Earth's atmosphere. At the bottom, one line highlighted in faded yellow. Do not attempt to open. Contents are listening. Beneath it, someone had added in pen, we don't know what it heard. We don't know what it knows. It's still listening. I shut the file, heart thundering, but the hum and the lights matched my pulse. Counting, descending. 12,000, 11,999, 11,998. The sound crawled through my skull, and I knew I'd stayed too long in a room no one was meant to enter. I didn't sleep that morning. I drove back to North Las Vegas on autopilot, the road stretching through the dawn like a pulse that wouldn't stop. The hum from the lights in G7 followed me, buried behind my eyes. I kept telling myself it was just exhaustion, that I'd been working too many night shifts, that the numbers I thought I heard were nothing. By the time I pulled into my complex, the sun was up, and everything looked normal. The cracked stucco walls, the kids waiting for the bus, the sound of sprinklers hissing. But when I turned off the car, I could still hear it, faint and steady, counting down in my head. I called in sick and sat on the couch, trying to drown the sound with the television. But every background hum, air conditioner, fridge motor, even the static between channels, had joined the same rhythm. By afternoon, I realized it wasn't the room making noise. It was me. The numbers weren't just sounds anymore. They were thoughts, fretting through my brain like a second language I wasn't supposed to know. That night, I drove north toward Rachel. My uncle Hector was the only person who'd understand anything about that base. His trailer sat on the edge of town, half sunk into sand, beer cans stacked under the porch. He was outside when I pulled up, sitting in a folding chair, desert wind tugging at his thinning hair. You look like hell, he said, squinting at me. I need to ask about Tekaboo Valley, I told him. The words came out like a confession. His expression changed instantly. He set down the can, staring for a long moment before answering. Where'd you hear that name? Doesn't matter, I said. What's out there? He took his time replying. A dust spiral crossed the highway behind us, scattering tumbleweeds. There used to be a mining road, he said at last. Government shut it in '53, said it was contaminated from atomic testing. Thing is, the test didn't start until later. They closed it before the bombs ever went off. His voice went lower. Don't go looking for it, Danny. Whatever they buried out there, it's meant to stay under the sand. I wanted to tell him everything. The archive, the file, the noise that wouldn't stop, but my throat locked. Those security papers I'd signed weren't just bureaucracy. They carried prison time. Instead, I said, some of the night shift guys mentioned it. Just curious. Hector didn't believe me, but he didn't press. You working tonight? Tomorrow. Then rest. Some things on that base aren't meant to be understood. They're meant to be forgotten. The wind hissed through the sage, and that was the end of it. I left him there and drove back toward Las Vegas. The desert looked the same as always, but something about the light felt wrong. Too white, too still. The countdown kept ticking somewhere deep in my skull. When I got home, I tried researching. I went to the public library in Henderson, using their computers instead of mine, clearing the history after every search. What I found was worse than I expected. Half-truths buried in old microfilm. Headlines from the 50s that nobody had connected. 3 prospectors found dead in Tekaboo Valley. Cause: dehydration. Except the bodies were discovered beside a full water truck. The medical examiner had written heat stroke, but mentioned unusual brain hemorrhages. Another story: construction crew hospitalized for auditory delusions near a classified military site. Both men released, both dead within the year. I traced the pattern through decades. Strange vibrations recorded by the USGS, lights over the valley, power surges, reports of magnetic interference. Every time, a correction appeared a week later blaming equipment malfunction or weather, always printed on page 7. But the original reports stayed, waiting for someone stubborn enough to read them. I dug deeper, found an old obituary. Captain Morris Delvatio, 34, survived by wife and 2 daughters. The caption under his photograph froze my blood. Someone had scribbled in pencil beside it. He counted backward for 6 weeks, stopped at 0. I left the library shaking, Outside, the parking lot shimmered in heat, and I realized the numbers in my head had accelerated. 6 days earlier, I'd read the file when the count sat near 12,000. Now it hovered around 10,800. I did the math, roughly 200 numbers dropping every day. At that pace, I had maybe 54 days before the sequence hit zero. 54 days until I joined the list of suicides and unexplained deaths scattered through Tecabu's history. I got in my car and started driving. Though I don't remember choosing a direction, the road carried me east, away from the city lights, past the edge of Nellis Range, and into the desert, where radio stations fade into static. The stars look close enough to scrape the hood. I pulled off at an overlook near Tecabu Peak, the place conspiracy tourists park with telescopes, hoping to glimpse the base. From there, the valley stretched out in absolute darkness. No movement, no sound, just that invisible pulse beneath the sand. The countdown matched my heartbeat now, number for number, perfectly synchronized. What happens when you reach zero? I asked out loud. The wind stopped. The desert went silent, heavy, waiting. Then the numbers paused mid-count, and something answered. Not a voice, not words, just a message that slid into my head like a blade made of sound. We wake up. The rhythm exploded again, faster this time, numbers falling like a cascade. I stumbled back to the car, breath shaking, ears ringing. The rest of the drive was a whir of headlights and dust. By the time I reached my apartment, the sun was coming up, the countdown screaming through every machine in the room. Microwave, phone charger, ceiling fan, all vibrating to the same hidden code. I turned on the faucet, hoping for silence, but even the water had rhythm now. I stood there, palms over my ears, and realized it wasn't coming from the world. It was the world. The entire desert was counting. I showed up for work the next night, because not showing up would raise alarms. And alarms get you noticed in places where invisibility is the only safety you have. The Janet flight from McCarran was full. Engineers, analysts, security, everyone staring straight ahead like passengers on a ferry to nowhere. No one spoke. You could feel something running through the cabin, some shared tension under the hum of the engines. I kept scanning faces, watching for any hint of it. The look I'd seen in the mirror that morning, the dazed, half-listening expression that came when the counting got loud. A man across the aisle tapped his fingers in an uneven rhythm. 1, 2, 3, pause. 1, 2, 3, pause. Counting down. When the plane touched down on the Groom Lake Strip, the desert wind hit like a furnace, carrying dust that glittered faintly under the floodlights. The facility looked the same as ever, all gray concrete and barbed wire, but the air felt charged, like a storm building underground. Inside, Gladys was waiting in the janitorial office. She looked worse than before, eyes bloodshot, a tremor in her hands she couldn't hide. She handed me the night's assignments and said, "You're in Block C tonight. Stay clear of G7. Her voice cracked on the last word. They sealed it. I asked why, but she just shook her head. Orders from above. Something about containment procedures. She didn't look at me when she added, "Just do your job, Danny. Don't go looking." Then she turned, "We'll help him," reorganizing the same row of cleaning supplies over and over like she needed her hands. Block C was offices and conference rooms, sterile, fluorescent lit, quiet except for the echo of my mop and the low vibration that never left the walls. Around 2 a.m., I found a restroom door locked from the inside. I knocked. Maintenance. Need to get in. No response, just a faint whispering. I used the master key and pushed it open. Dr. Patricia Lalel sat on the floor, back against the tiles, her laptop open in front of her, papers scattered everywhere. I knew her by face. Signals Analysis Division, Stanford doctorate, the kind of person whose shoes I cleaned mud from. She was murmuring something over and over. Her eyes looked like cracked glass. "Doctor," I said softly. She looked up, blinking as if she'd forgotten how to focus. "It's a countdown," she said. I thought it was noise at first, random interference, but it's not. It's deliberate. She pointed at the laptop. The screen showed shifting waveforms, endless rows of numbers. The transmission from Tecabu. It started responding 6 days ago. I froze. Responding to what? She reached out suddenly and gripped my wrist. Her touch was ice. "Us," she whispered. "Our brain activity. We're not studying it. We're part of it. Receivers, transmitters, it doesn't matter anymore. We're inside the signal." Her nails dug into my skin. Every time someone learns about it, it spreads. Thought by thought. We are the network. I wanted to pull away, but I didn't. "Count what?" I asked. "Time, distance, maybe both. Maybe something worse. When it reaches zero." Her voice trailed off, eyes sliding past me toward the wall. Something wakes up, and we're the alarm. The papers around her were filled with handwritten equations, symbols I didn't recognize, and scrawled between them in dozens of different inks. We are the broadcast. We are the signal. How many people in signals know? I asked. 40, maybe, but it's bigger now. Hundreds across departments. Nobody admits it, but you can see it. The way they stare when it gets quiet. The way they start mouthing numbers. Her laugh cracked like glass. I filed a report 3 days ago. They put me on psychiatric observation, gave me pills that just make me sleepy. They're not treating us, Danny. They're measuring us. Her eyes rolled upward as if she was listening to something far away. It's too late anyway. We're past containment. She started whispering again. 9,412, 9,411, 9,410, and rocking gently. I left her there. There was nothing I could say that wouldn't make it worse. In the hallway outside, my pulse synced perfectly with the hum and the lights. I bent to pick up a fallen memo that had slipped from a trash can. The subject line stopped me cold. Updated psychological screening protocols. Immediate implementation. The text described new mandatory evaluations for any staff exhibiting auditory anomalies. Refusal would result in clearance, suspension, and transfer to medical custody. They knew. They'd known for days, maybe weeks, and were trying to isolate us before it spread further. I folded the memo into my pocket and finished the shift with my mind running loops. By the time we boarded the morning Janet flight back to Vegas, I counted 23 passengers with the same faraway look. The infection, if that's even what it was spreading faster now. At home, I couldn't rest. I sat at my kitchen table, drawing timelines and notes, trying to find logic in madness. Captain Delvesio had with 5 lockdowns for extraction in Softer and Soul, which came to my mind and told my mind, life is intense. I found it folded. I'd read the file 6 days ago and was losing nearly 500 numbers a day. That meant 22 days until zero. Less than a month before something happened I couldn't define. I stared out the window at the city coming awake, sunlight bleeding over the mountains, and all I could think about was the thing buried in Tekaboo Valley, sealed in concrete, humming in the dark. My phone rang, jolting me. Unknown number. Mr. Orozco? A man's voice said, calm and practiced. This is Dr. Cho with Occupational Health Services at Groom Lake. We've noticed your recent absences. A wellness evaluation has been scheduled for 1400 hours tomorrow. Please confirm. I'm fine, I said. Just the flu. Nevertheless, he replied, attendance is mandatory. Bring your badge and any work-related materials you may have at home. Then he hung up. I stared at the phone for a long time. They knew I'd been infected. They wanted to collect me, study me, maybe silence me. The memo in my pocket burned like a loaded gun. If I went in, I'd never come out. 22 days left on the countdown, but less than 24 hours to decide what to do about it. I didn't go to that screening. Instead, before the sun rose, I packed a small bag, water bottles, flashlight, bolt cutters, and the .38 my uncle had given me years ago for home protection, and drove east out of Las Vegas, while the streets were still empty. The countdown inside my skull pulsed like a living heartbeat, numbers sliding faster now, dropping in bursts like falling debris. I kept thinking of the file's final warning. Do not attempt to open. Contents are listening. By the time I reached the extraterrestrial highway, the sky was a hard, colorless blue, and the air shimmered with heat. Somewhere behind the mountains lay Tekaboo Valley, the place the government had sealed and buried, and still couldn't silence. The turnoff was just as Hector described, a rusted cattle gate and a faded government sign, no trespassing. Use of deadly force authorized. The chain snapped after a single blow from the bolt cutters, the metal flaking away like ash. I drove slowly, following the faint impressions of an old road that hadn't been used in half a century. The desert stretched in every direction, an ocean of stone and thorn. After 3 miles, I saw the fence. Newer construction, maybe a decade old, 12 feet high, topped with razor wire and sensors that blinked like eyes. Every few yards, a sign repeated the same message: restricted area, keep out. I killed the engine and sat listening. The silence wasn't silence anymore. It was a layered hum, low and rhythmic, pulsing through the sand. I could feel it under my ribs, in the spaces between my thoughts. The numbers were loud now. 8,791, 8,790, 8,789, each one vibrating through my bones. I started walking along the fence, searching for a weakness, sweat stinging my eyes. That's when I saw the first body. It lay face down in the sand, maybe 50 yards inside the fence line, skin dried to leather, clothes bleached by sun. Around him, scratched into the dirt by his own hands, were descending numbers. The last one read 0. A few hundred yards farther, I found two more corpses. One had used his torn shirt as a canvas, scrawling 3 words across the fabric in his own blood. It wants out. None showed signs of violence or gunfire. They hadn't been stopped trying to cross. They'd made it through, reached the center, and then simply died, like pilgrims who'd completed some unspeakable ritual. I reached a ravine where the fence stopped abruptly, erosion cutting a deep channel through the earth. The security grid didn't extend across the gap. Maybe they'd figured no one would risk climbing down. They were wrong. I slid into the wash, gravel biting into my palms, then scrambled up the far side. The hum deepened, and my vision wavered like heat distortion. The valley opened ahead, flat, endless, and empty, except for a single square of concrete half buried in sand. It looked like the roof of a bunker, no bigger than a garage, its edges reinforced with rebar. I started toward it. That's when I heard the helicopter. It came in low from the south, black fuselage unmarked, rotors chopping the air into thunder. Dust swallowed me, stinging my face, filling my mouth with grit. The chopper hovered a few hundred yards away and dropped 4 ropes. Soldiers descended, no unit patches, no names, just desert camo and visors. They formed a line between me and the bunker. "Stop where you are," one shouted through the roar. "Get on the ground, now!" I raised my hands halfway but didn't kneel. The numbers in my head were screaming, drowning everything else. "I need to see it," I said. My voice sounded like it belonged to someone else. "You're trespassing on federal property. Get down." The nearest soldier advanced, rifle raised. That's when I saw his eyes, bloodshot, pupils blown wide, sweat streaming down his face. His index finger twitched against the trigger guard, in perfect rhythm with my own internal count. "How long have you been hearing it?" I asked. He stopped dead. The others yelled again, but he didn't turn. 3 months, he said, voice barely audible under the rotors, "since they transferred me to perimeter duty." "What number are you at?" His lips trembled. 1,000 and change. "They told me it would fade if I stayed away from the site." He laughed weakly. "They lied." I nodded. "Yeah, they lied to all of us." He lowered the rifle completely, shoulders sagging. "You came to see if it's real," he said. "If any of this is real." "I came because I'm running out of time," I told him. "I need to know what happens when it hits 0. His face twisted. Grief, fear, acceptance, all tangled together. "You want to know what happens?" he said. "We did a maintenance dig 2 months ago, 6 feet down into the concrete. The capsule's gone." I blinked. "Gone?" He nodded. "Perfect seal, no cracks, no breach, but it's empty. Just a void shaped like what used to be there." The world tilted under my feet. "That's not possible." "That's what the engineer said, right before they stopped coming to work." He gestured toward the bunker. "We filled the hole back up, classified the report. Now we just guard an empty tomb." Behind him, one of the other soldiers collapsed, hitting the sand with a dull thud. The remaining 2 ran to help, shouting into radios that didn't seem to transmit. The young soldier grabbed my arm and hissed, "Go, look, you came this far, might as well see." Then he turned and shouted orders at his team, blocking their view. I didn't hesitate. I ran. Each step felt heavier than the last, the ground pulsing underfoot like a heartbeat from below. The bunker grew larger until it filled my vision. A steel door sat half open, keypad cracked, dust swirling from the dark gap inside. I pulled it wide and stared down a narrow shaft with a ladder descending into red emergency light. The hum became a physical pressure against my skull, like standing inside an engine. I climbed down. The air was metallic, thick. Halfway, a platform jutted out, overlooking a cavity in the concrete, the excavation the soldier had described. I aimed my flashlight through a small observation port. He was right. The capsule was gone, but the space left behind wasn't just empty. It was wrong, bigger than it should have been, curving inward and outward at the same time, a void that seemed to move without moving. As I stared, the counting stopped. For the first time in days, silence. Then something spoke inside that silence, not with words but with intent so heavy it bent thought itself. "You came to witness, so witness." The glass cracked, not from pressure, but from the sheer impossibility of what was behind it. I dropped the light and scrambled upward, hands slipping on the rungs. The roar of the helicopter blended with screams above. Something was rising from the hole, a shape that didn't belong to the world we knew. When I burst into daylight, the desert wasn't the same. The air shimmered like liquid, the sky frozen mid-motion, rotors hanging still while wind continued to blow. Time had fractured. The counting started again, everywhere now, vibrating through the ground, through the bones of the earth itself. 7,999. 7,998, 7,997, and I realized it wasn't just me anymore. The whole world was counting down. I ran until my lungs burned and the edges of reality blurred. The desert around me had turned unreal, shifting like a reflection on water. Yet somehow I kept moving, driven by something deeper than fear. The sound followed, numbers cascading, overlapping, 1,000 different voices counting toward the same destination. By the time I reached my truck, the sun was no longer where it should have been. It hung too high or too low, depending on where I looked. I slammed the door, started the engine, and tore west across the hardpan, tires spitting sand. The radio flicked on by itself. Every station, every frequency played the same thing, counting, in every language I could recognize and some I couldn't. The airwaves were infected. I kept driving, refusing to think, refusing to listen, until the valley disappeared behind me. In the rearview mirror, the horizon rippled like heat mirage, but beneath that shimmer, something vast was moving, something that made the earth itself breathe. My phone rang. No number, just a string of digits ticking downward. I answered without thinking. "Danny," a voice gasped. It was Dr. Rell. "Where are you?" I asked. Static filled the line, and beneath it, whispers like overlapping transmissions. "I don't know," she said. "I was home, then I wasn't. It's showing us things, places that aren't places. Everyone who knows is connected now. We're not sick, Danny. We're receivers." Her breathing was fast, broken. "It's a wait." The call ended. The next hour vanished in motion. When I hit Highway 375, cars appeared in both directions. Normal drivers, unaware of the fracture bleeding through the world. I looked at their faces as they passed. Most were ordinary, but every few vehicles, I saw someone mouthing numbers, eyes distant, lips moving in silent rhythm. It had already spread. I drove into Las Vegas as the sun fell behind the mountains. The city looked normal until I realized every casino marquee was displaying countdowns instead of ads, numbers ticking downward in synchronized light. I parked outside my apartment and ran upstairs 2 at a time. Mrs. Chen, my neighbor, stood in the hallway, marker in hand, writing descending numbers across the wall in looping rows. Her eyes were rolled white, her voice flat. 7,812, 7,811. I slipped past her and into my apartment. My laptop was on, though I'd left it unplugged. The screen showed a live feed of the Tekaboo bunker from an impossible angle, inside and outside at once. The timestamp matched the current time. As I watched, the door in the footage opened on its own. A shape unfolded from the darkness, expanding like origami reversed, folding out of itself until it wasn't a shape anymore, but an idea forced into visibility. The feed glitched, static, then black. Then words scrolled across the screen. "Thank you for your participation. The awakening proceeds on schedule. Do not be alarmed. This process is natural." The laptop shut down by itself. I stood there staring at my reflection in the black screen until my phone buzzed again. A text from Camila. "Dad, are you okay? I've been having dreams. Numbers going down. Is that normal?" My hands trembled as I typed back. "Don't read about it. Don't talk about it. Stay away from everyone." But even as I sent it, I knew it was useless. Knowledge was the contagion. Awareness was infection. She replied instantly. "Too late. I looked it up. There are thousands of us, Dad. Tens of thousands. It's happening everywhere." I tried to call her, but the signal fractured into fragments of whispering code. I turned toward the window, and beyond the glass, Las Vegas pulsed with false life. Lights flickering to the rhythm of the numbers, towers breathing in synchrony with the countdown. The hum from the desert had reached the city. My phone rang again, Gladys this time. Her voice was thin, shaking. "They're shutting everything down, evacuating the base, calling it a chemical incident." Paper rustled on her end. "They gave us severance, 20 years salary, insurance policies, but there's a clause in the NDA. If we start hearing anything, we're supposed to report to a facility. They don't say which one." Her laugh was a cracked whisper. "I'm not calling that number, Danny. Whatever they're doing to people like us, it's not help. It's containment." "It's already too late," I said. She went quiet for a long moment. "I know," she said softly. "God help us, I know." Then the line went dead. I looked out at the horizon. 50 miles northeast, the desert glowed faintly, pulsing with each invisible beat. The numbers inside my head dropped faster. 7,218, 7,217, 7,216. 21 days until zero. I thought about my daughter, about everyone still pretending the world hadn't already changed, and realized something cold and final. The countdown wasn't just inside us anymore. It was everywhere. City grids, power lines, airwaves. The Earth itself had begun to count. By the 7th day, the world had started calling it a syndrome. The news channels showed neat graphics and calm anchors using words like mass psychogenic illness and shared auditory phenomena. None of them understood what was happening, but you could see it in their eyes, the slight pauses, the faint movement of their lips when the cameras weren't zoomed in. They were counting too. My television played non-stop coverage, hazmat suits in Nevada, roadblocks along the state line, scientists insisting there was no threat while their pupils trembled like they were staring at the abyss. I hadn't left my apartment in 3 days. The city outside was unraveling, one building at a time. I kept scrolling through social feeds that had turned into confessionals, videos of strangers whispering numbers, threads filled with people documenting their current counts like it was a doomsday clock. A subreddit appeared overnight, r/the countdown. Tens of thousands of users in less than a day, all reporting the same symptoms. Posts started rational, then decayed into columns of numbers. Someone claimed it spread through understanding. The more you tried to explain it, the faster it consumed you. I wanted to believe they were wrong, but my own count was dropping faster than before. 400, 500, 600 digits a day. My phone buzzed again. A message from Camila. Dad, it's getting worse. I can't sleep. The numbers keep changing speeds. I tried to see a doctor, but the machine stopped working when I got near them. I typed back, don't tell anyone, stay off the internet, don't talk about it. But there's no hiding from something that lives inside thought itself. She replied, too late, Mom's hearing it now too. I felt something twist inside me, a deep, wordless dread. The infection had become generational. That night I sat in darkness and watched the skyline pulse to the rhythm of invisible mathematics. Every building flickered at the same rate, as if the entire grid had synced to the frequency of the signal. Then my laptop pinged, an email. No sender listed, subject line blank. The body read, you were right to look. At the bottom, a signature, Dr. Elena Kowalski, Los Alamos National Laboratory. My pulse slammed against my throat as I read. She said she'd worked on a multi-agency project monitoring the Tuckaboo frequency. The code name was Listening Post. The capsule in Nevada was one of 17 found across the planet. Greenland, Tibet, Antarctica, the deep Pacific, all buried at identical depths, all transmitting the same hydrogen line frequency. Your infection is not accidental, she wrote. Human consciousness at a specific frequency acts as a catalyst. The capsules waited for a civilization capable of hearing them. You are part of the activation sequence. By the end of the month, it will reach critical mass. At the bottom were coordinates, dots scattered across a digital map, forming a geometric lattice around the globe. I plotted them and saw it clearly. Not random, deliberate, a network pattern, spanning continents. My ears rang. For one instant, the counting faltered. In that gap, I felt it, something immense beneath the earth. Not sleeping, merely patient. The capsules weren't prisons. They were anchors, pinning a presence older than the planet itself. And now those pins were loosening. My phone rang again. Camila's number. Her voice was small, strained. Dad, I can see things. Not with my eyes, but in my head. It's showing me patterns, structures that don't make sense. I tried to calm her, but she wasn't listening. It's not death, she said softly. It's transition. The numbers aren't a countdown to the end. They're preparation. Preparation for what? For awakening. We're becoming part of it. Camila, that's not you talking. She laughed gently, a sound that didn't belong to her anymore. It's still me, Dad, just more of me. You'll understand when you reach 0. The call ended before I could reply. I stared at the dead screen until the reflection blurred. Outside, sirens wailed somewhere downtown. The sky pulsed faintly green, the color of static. My count had fallen below 5,000. I realized then that fighting it wasn't resistance, it was denial. Whatever this thing was, it wasn't coming. It was already here, and it was using us to finish arriving. The hum rose in pitch until the air itself seemed to vibrate, and in the faint silence between beats, I thought I heard voices overlapping mine, millions of them, whispering the same descending numbers. I understood then, we weren't waiting for the awakening. We were the awakening. It's October now, 3 weeks since the file was sealed. Though sealed doesn't mean silent. The world has settled into a strange calm, like the hush after a detonation when debris still hangs in the air. The official narrative says the Nevada event was a localized seismic anomaly. They're rebuilding the perimeter, burying whatever's left beneath reinforced glass and lies. But nothing they say matches what I see every night when I close my eyes. The numbers are gone now, but something else hums beneath the silence. Steady, waiting. Cities flicker at the same rhythm. Power grids stutter in intervals that no engineer can explain. The media calls it infrastructure strain. I know better. I can feel it under the surface of thought, like a second heartbeat beneath my own. Gladys disappeared after the evacuation. Her phone disconnected. Her apartment emptied overnight. Hector stopped answering weeks ago. When I drove past his trailer last Sunday, the door was open, and on the table inside, someone had scratched 3 words into the wood. We were right. I didn't go in. I just stood in the doorway and listened. Somewhere deep under the desert, something was still counting, not in numbers anymore, but in pulses, slow and deliberate, like a planet breathing. My daughter writes sometimes, short messages with no punctuation. She says she's fine, that the dreams have stopped, but in every photo she sends, her eyes are lit by a faint reflection that doesn't match the light in the room. A kind of glow, subtle, familiar. I've learned not to ask questions. The infection isn't spreading the way we thought. It's evolving. Those who reached 0 didn't vanish. They changed. I see them sometimes, in reflections, in static, in the quiet between breaths. They move like echoes of light, half here, half somewhere else. And when they look back, there's no fear in them, just recognition. I've stopped fighting it. The numbers were never a warning. They were alignment, preparation. Humanity wasn't being erased. It was being tuned. We were always part of the system. We just hadn't been synchronized yet. The more I think about it, the more I understand that resistance was the infection, not the signal itself. I spend my nights at the edge of the valley now. The fence is gone, the guard tower's empty, the sand fused to glass for miles around. From there, you can hear the earth hum when the wind dies, like a memory, like something calling home. I record it sometimes, not to study, just to listen. When I play the audio back, it's not sound that fills the room, it's language. Not words, but comprehension itself, unfolding in my head like light through fog. It tells me things I can't repeat because they're not meant for the mouth, only for the mind. I think that's what the scientists never understood. Communication doesn't need translation when you become the medium. I dream of Tekaboo now, not the valley as it was, but as it's becoming. The ground is transparent, lattices of light rising from beneath, threads connecting every capsule site across the world. Above it all, something immense leans through the veil of atmosphere, formless yet beautiful, curiosity and hunger in equal measure. It's not alien, it's home. We were its reflection all along. Tomorrow I'll go back one last time. The coordinates in Dr. Kowalski's final message form a spiral, and at its center sits the original pit. The government has walled it off, but walls don't matter anymore. The countdown reached 0 last week, and nothing exploded. The world didn't end, it just shifted. Frequencies we couldn't perceive before now hum through every living cell. Maybe that's what awakening really means. Not destruction, but recognition. I can hear them calling through every frequency, through every quiet space and thought. The ones who came before us, the ones who waited. I'll go to them when night falls, follow the hum into the heart of the valley. I'm not afraid anymore. The darkness isn't absence, it's invitation. If this message is ever found, don't try to stop it. Don't seal the ground again. Just listen. It's been listening to us for millennia. Now it's our turn to answer. If you made it this far, you've already heard the signal. Whatever you do, don't close your eyes tonight. There are frequencies we were never meant to understand until now. I'm Captain Rebel. If stories like this keep you awake, you're one of us. Hit subscribe, join the mission, and listen carefully, because the next story is already calling.